Hello there, Ray here. Minecraft came out with the full release to 1.13.1. Everything before that was just pre-releases, and before that we had the full release of 1.13, which was extremely buggy. Now with this full release with 1.13.1, we will probably see a lot of people converting their words over to this version. I highly recommend, if you haven't hit it already, to go ahead and do that, because this version has a lot less bugs than the 1.13 full release, and it also has a lot of stability changes to make it so that the performance is much better than the 1.13. So if you haven't already, be sure to upgrade your worlds to 1.13.1 full release. I'll be going over the changes between the previous snapshot and this full release here, as well as go over the general changes between 1.13 and 1.13.1 full releases, and also talk about the speculation of 1.14 and what we should actually look forward to. Now, the previous version was 1.13.1 pre-release 2, and in those pre-releases as well as snapshots prior to the full release, they went through most of the bugs and tried to fix them. Now, they actually did this full release here. There's only actually 4 different bugs that they fixed between pre-release 2 and the full release that we have right now. Now, the first one is the bone meal one that we talked about earlier, where the particles weren't showing up when you would bone meal some plants. So if you see this, you see we're now getting the particles. And something like this wouldn't show particles, but if you would click on stuff, then you would get the particles. So that seems to be fixed. They also fixed a bug due with stack overflowing that was reported early in the snapshots. This was causing servers to crash when players would try to get information about themselves through commands. They fixed another bug to do with crashing, which is batching chunks crashed the server in 1.13.1, and this person reported some crashing occurring on his server, and they supposedly fixed this. And the last bug fix that was implemented into the 1.13.1 full release was another one to do with crashing. This one's called tessellating block models. Apparently somebody was doing some stuff with it, which caused it to crash, and they went ahead and fixed it. So as you can see, the majority of the bug fixes occurred prior to this last update. So if you want to learn more about those, I will put a link down in the description to our snapshot review videos that go into more detail about these. Otherwise, I'm going to go on and briefly cover the different changes. Now before I go into the general changes between 1.13 and 1.13.1 full releases, I wanted to talk about 2 different bugs I didn't talk about previously, and this happened in the previous snapshot. So this is, they fixed a bug to do with signs that have long text freezing the game, as well as they did fixing a bug where mobs would only spawn if there was 2 meters of air above them, so such things as spiders weren't fitting in really small areas. So those bugs have been fixed. Now let's go over into what I think about the full releases as well as the changes that came with them. So the biggest change between the 2 different types of full releases is that they went ahead and improved a lot of performance issues. So the liquids got improved, the chunk rendering got improved, and mob spawning also got improved. So hopefully this will allow you to notice a significant increase in your ticks on the server. So if you're playing a single player, you'll be able to see up in here that the server is running at so many ticks per millisecond. And you don't want this obviously to go above 50, or else that is slowing down the game lower than what it generally should be running at. Being at 5 is pretty nice, and I think previously we did some tests in 1.13 and it was about 3 times this high or even higher in some situations. So right away we do notice this improvement, and it's really nice that they have went ahead and keen on this point and being a thing that they wanted to fix with the 1.13.1 full release, because a lot of people were complaining about this when playing in 1.13. The majority of the changes in this version was bug fixes. Most of them were small, but also there were some that were pretty noticeable. These bug fixes range from some bugs that were old and that were still in 1.13 that they eventually fixed in 1.13.1. Some of these bug fixes were things that they tried to fix between those versions that end up breaking other stuff, so they went ahead and fixed those bugs. We've seen a lot to do with water as well as pistons and observers because of this problem. Other ones were just small aesthetics changes to do with people noticing different things and pointing them out and them getting fixed. And there was some that were getting fixed because of different crashing that was occurred on the servers. And we even had a couple bug fixes that were still from 1.13, where they were having problems with upgrading from like 1.12 up into 1.13 still. Now the 1.13.1 full release did not just bring bug fixes, it also brought some new features, such as the ability to bone meal the bottom of the warm oceans and have it so you can now get coral as well as fan coral from this, so it's now a renewable resource. This is a really cool change. It allows it so that more blocks in the games will be renewable. You don't see people just completely ransacking these coral. Although the coral blocks themselves still haven't been renewable yet, maybe they'll make it so recipe so you can take like 9 of these or 9 of a coral and put them in a crafting grid, and you can make different types of coral blocks. That way those are renewable, otherwise you can probably see a lot of people going along just completely removing all of them from the ocean. Another big change that came with 1.13.1 is that fish now have a 5% chance upon death to drop some bone meal. So here I made up a crazy fish farm that allows us to get fish as well as the bone meal from them. You can check out some of the loots that you can get from it. Depending on where you put it, you get different types of fish. This is really cool because this means you can automate different things that use bone meal by putting up fish farms and then using that bone meal you get from it to put into other types of farms such as like your seagrass farm or like the coral farms I showed or the other crazy farms that use bone meal. I really like this added change because this means that it's possible to go ahead and automatically acquire bone meal without having to craft it up, making some farms to be infinitely automatic just by having you AFK at certain positions. And I've been having a lot of fun designing up farms to take advantage of this. This also means people will probably stop complaining about trying to get ways to convert bones over to bone meal. I know people were suggesting using like bone meal grinders, grind the bones up into bone meal, and this is actually something I thought might be useful as well, but now this is a kind of a cool way to get around it. I think it feels more Minecrafty as well. I continue by adding more dead variations, so we got the dead coral fans, as well as it is now possible to have variations of the coral that are not waterlogged as well as waterlogged. And they continued this on by making it possible to place down conduit without water and having it be able to be waterlogged. I find this change to make more sense than before, where you cannot waterlog some types of blocks, and this way it's more consistent with other things we see in the game. Another cool feature that was added is the ability to scoop up the different types of tropical fish, and them coming up with different unique names for each one that you pick up. So this one's called the goatfish, as you can see, every different type of fish that shows up in the game has a unique name to go with it. This is really awesome because on Protech we're trying to collect all the different types of mobs, blocks, and items in the game, and we're going after rare types of mobs such as these tropical fish, so it's going to be really easy for us to go along and see all the different types, see what their names are, and easily be able to categorize them appropriately. Now, when tropical fish came out in the game, we had a nice stream where I discovered something really cool, which is if you go in here and change out the name of the fish, let's just change this one to fishy, and this means that when you place the fish into the water, you'll now have a name on him. So this is a cool way to give fish name tag names without actually using up any name tags, and this is a really cool discovery, and I'll be sure to use this in the future. We also used to use this to prevent the fish from counting towards the mob cap, since they had that name on them, but now they made it so that any fish that comes out of a bucket will no longer count towards a mob cap no matter what. We've been talking to Rock and Roll for Life, one of the Minecraft developers recently, and he was talking about how he accidentally made it so that any mob could spawn on the overworld in one of the snapshots that we talked about earlier. And he said the reason this happened is that he was trying to make Husk be able to spawn from mob spawners without having access to the sky. And he was changing some code to make that possible, and accidentally made it so that all mobs would ignore basic rules that they use to spawn, and this allowed them to spawn in daylight, even though they would normally not be able to. But he went ahead and he tweaked the code some more, so now we have it so the husks are able to spawn from spawners without needing access to skylight. It was the case in 1.13 that when pushing a case like this, where these bottom blocks would get pushed by this piston, these top blocks would not break off, and other blocks similar to them would do the same thing, but this has been fixed, so you can make your grass farms as well as other types of flower farms using this. There's some other small changes that they made, such as when sand entities are falling down, they don't all start to fall inside of each other. Instead, they take their time. See something like this, even though they're falling down, the one above it doesn't just constantly start colliding inside each other, and this way they don't break off. So something like this before in 1.12 would cause it all the sand to start breaking off. Pretty much every other sand would break off, but now you can see it easily goes through, even though the clock here is a little bit faster than what the sand needs to be. Now that is my short list of the different changes that are pretty noticeable to me. If you want to see all of them, obviously check out the prior videos that we did on each individual snapshot and what changes came out with them. So now I want to talk about 1.14 and what 1.14 might bring to Minecraft. We've been talking to Rock and Roll for Life, one of the Minecraft developers for Java, off and on for the last couple of days. Obviously he's not going to give no spoilers of what 1.14 is about, but we can speculate what it's going to be about according to different things that they have said about Minecraft. One thing that we know it's going to be about is that we know in 1.14 they will probably add more stairs and slabs, as well as in general more blocks to the game, since they have it so that they can add more blocks without running into any limits. What Rock did say is that they will be trying to push out 2 updates per year, so they're going to try to put out the 1.14 in this year, They said most likely it will still be in the snapshot process since they're not going to really push for like a certain date for it to come out. Instead, they're just going to kind of see how the game is going and seeing what bugs occur from it, and then they're going to fix them as needed. Not just going to like immediately push it out as soon as some date comes about, like before Christmas or something like that. But he says they are also going along with the tradition of trying to add more structures in 1.14, as they said they were going to do in prior versions. And he also said that they are working on some new structures right now, some of the developers, so I'm really excited to see what those structures will be. So we asked him some general ideas, like how does Minecraft come up with the new version, and then how did they work on that new version. And pretty much the way it sounded is if there was like a new initial idea, what they're going to do for the next version, and then they have all kind of split up and try to figure out what different things they could add into this version to implement into the game. And then they kind of work off each other's work and try to improve each other, kind of find new ways to implement different stuff into the game to make it feel like it is Minecraft. He also said a lot of developers, once they know what kind of idea they're going for, let's say they're going to do like a cave update, or maybe they're going to like overhaul the end dimension, once they kind of figure out what they're going after, they start looking on different forums, such as like Reddit or the official Minecraft suggestion website for ideas of what they can implement that's kind of in that direction. So if they're going to look for like a overhaul of caves or something, they might start looking at people's forums and ideas that do with caves. So that's really cool. So once you do know what they are going after, then you can definitely go on to like Reddit or like the official Minecraft suggestion page and you start giving ideas that are tailored to that very specific thing. And that way, that some of those things that you say may actually get implemented into the game. Otherwise, you're just giving suggestions to things that in general they may never even run into. There has been a lot of speculation on what the update's going to be about. A lot of people say it's going to be like changes made to the nether or changes made to like the caves. And some people think they're going to bring a lot of ambient life to the lands above the ocean, similar to what they did to like the ocean. Or it could just be a very small update where they kind of just specialize on something kind of small, and then they were able to push out the update quite quickly. Personally, I think that they should do an update to the caves. Being Minecraft, you think that the caves should be kind of a more of a majestic place, as caves hold a long tradition in Minecraft. I'd love to hear what you speculate the 1.14 update will be about, and if you guys have any ideas on what should come out, even if it's not 1.14, maybe a future version beyond that, what do you think Minecraft should concentrate on? What's the next big thing that you think will make Minecraft more interesting to play in survival? I do enjoy doing these more talky episodes, and telling what you guys think about them down in the comments. I'd like to thank you for watching, and if you found this interesting, show me to like and share this with others. If you'd like to see more videos like this about vanilla survival, go ahead and subscribe and hit that bell button to get those notifications. And if you found something bizarre in the game, go ahead and tell me in the comments or message me. Bye bye!